everyone and welcome to another video. This one is the Magicka Nightblade guide for the Maelstrom Arena on veteran difficulty. Now I have two different setups that I'm going to show you and one that I will simply explain to you, which is the optimum setup, which I actually haven't managed to get the gear for yet. However, I can at least explain the bars to you as I have most of the abilities that I would want to run this on currently on this character. Starting off, we use funnel health, that's our major attack. It also provides a very nice heal. If you want to be risky, you can use concealed weapon. However, for Maelstrom Arena, I really would suggest you use funnel health. Crippling grasp is your damage over time. You keep this up at all times in the rotation. If you ever drop it, you're going to lose your 40% movement speed increase, which is really handy when in this arena. The Merciless Resolve there should be buffed at all times, preferably before combat starts and you're waiting for portals to spawn, and whenever the proc happens you should click the synergy as soon as possible and rebuff it straight afterwards. Impale is there on the main bar to boost crit in your main rotation, and is also for an easy execute without swapping bars. Inner Light likewise, just to give you some increased Magicka to boost your DPS, giving you 7% increased Magicka due to the Mage's Guild tips, not just the 5%. I have Soul Harvest on the main bar because as I'm killing lots of small enemies on the main bar, and this is my main DPS bar here, I will gain more ultimate because of the Soul Harvest passives generating a bonus 10 ultimate per kill. I actually use Soul Harvest quite frequently on bosses as I find the 20% damage is near enough equivalent to Meteor. Meteor is kind of... Ice Comet is kind of comparable damage, but I prefer to use Ice Comet when it's in AoE trash scenarios, or when I have multiple mobs that I need to target, or specifically when one big mob is there but lots of smaller mobs have slightly lower health, so you can use the Ice Comet to great effect in that example. On the off bar I run with rapid regeneration. I keep this up at all times, but particularly only buff it before pre-con combat if possible. Healing Ward there is a panic oh shit button if you really need it. Personally I don't use it that frequently if I can avoid it, as I try and keep Refreshing Path down quite a bit, as the healing from Refreshing Path at the moment is just ridiculous. At the moment I don't buff that many siphoning attacks, but I would suggest that you get more and more used to buffing siphoning attacks, as you'll see with my second setup, where you'll be running 2-piece more like Kenna, so it's really important that you keep that siphoning attacks up at most of the time. As you can see here, my Ice Comet's there for my ultimate. This is just simply an AoE dump ultimate if I've let my ultimate go a bit too far because I haven't been paying attention to it, or if there's a particular pool where I know there's some quite high health enemies in a group that I can group together. I'll drop an Ice Comet over them just to increase the damage output. It's important to note that in the future I hope to get proximity detonation, and if I was to get this skill I might be replacing either rapid regeneration or refreshing path. Most likely rapid regeneration in this build, as proximity you can charge it up before the pull comes in, and it gives a nice amount of AoE damage, as well as being really useful in your single target rotation. Anyway, moving on to gear. So at the moment I'm running a slightly unoptimal setup for what I feel is going to be the best build you could go for in this dungeon, but I will still go through all the possibilities with you and explain what I think is the optimum setup to run in this video. As you can see, I run 2 pieces Narayaneth. I love the Lich Crystals. You can make sure that you're in melee because you've got so much high healing per second. And because of this, that means that the Lich Crystals, you can make sure they explode on multiple enemies or just the single enemy that you were trying to kill. At this point I should note that I don't have perfect trait in the shoulders. At the moment infused, but the perfect trait would have been Divine's to have. Also, my Narayaneth helm only comes in medium. It would be preferable that you create your legs in medium and have a light infused Narayaneth helm, but as this is not available to me, this is the setup I've had to go with. You will only be running 1 piece of medium on 1 piece of armour and 1 piece of heavy on another, with 5 pieces light if you have that available to you through the Undaunted passives. As you can see, my second set that I use is Julianos. Julianos is a really nice crafted set, really easy to access, and it gives you a huge magic and spell crit increase. The amount of damage that you do due to the spell damage increase is really handy, especially when you combine it with the Mundus Stone that I run, which is the Thief. Thief bonuses with other damage such as this, combined with Nightblade passives of increasing crit damage, is just really nice to have. As you can see from my jewelry set, that is the only jewelry that you should be wearing as a Magicka DPS nowadays, or even as a healer, and that is the Willpower. So on this Magicka Nightblade I'm able to sustain all spell damage, and I'd suggest you try and run all spell damage too, as siphoning attacks, as previously explained, should be able to upkeep all your Magicka and stamina issues. As you can see here, I'm using the Inferno Staff and Torix Pact. I would love a Maelstrom Destro if it decided to drop from me, but sadly I have not had a Fire Staff yet, only simply an Ice Staff, and as the Fire Staff charged heavy attacks do 12% more damage, and you usually pre-cast these before portals and the mob spawning, I would far prefer to have the Fire Staff. So yes, I would change this to a Maelstrom Destro if I had the opportunity to. Luckily enough though, I've had the Maelstrom Restoration Staff drop in perfect trait, being precise, so I am able to use this at the moment. If you do not have the Maelstrom Resto Staff, I strongly suggest you go and get yourself a Torix Pact of Restoration. It's important to note that this is just one setup at the moment. I also have a second setup that I use, which I would also like to get used to running, which involves running 2 pieces more like Kenna on the head and shoulders. This will greatly increase your DPS, and I think is the only way that I'm going to be able to remain competitive in Maelstrom if I want to go for further runs, which will get high scoring. The 5 pieces armor should be Spell Power Cure. Spell Power Cure will do far better for your armor. If you have this available to you in good trait, you need to have a chest, sash, shoes, breeches and gloves. If you have the Spell Power Cure in these 5 pieces, then please do use them. You'll end up far better than using Julianos. The Keno therefore would have to be a heavy head and a medium shoulders, because the Spell Power Cure only comes in light armor. The final setup that I would just wanted to explain to you is that if you do not have the Mola Kenna head, or you do not have the Narayan F here, just simply craft yourself some Torog's head and shoulders along with the 2 staffs that you may already be using. This way that all your gear is crafted besides the willpower if you do not have access to these 2 head and shoulders done monster sets. Now for the bigger question that most people want to know, the stat pools are very high on this build, which is rather nice. As you can see, I take a slight hit to health if I don't have my own Orion set on, but I gain a large amount of Magicka, and of course my spell damage is higher, reaching about 3.3k when buffed with my major sorcery. As you can see, my crit is quite high because I'm on my Resto Staff, but this is about my average crit when I'm on my Destro Staff here, and about my average Magicka level drops to that. As you see, you don't really need the Magicka recovery because you've got the siphoning attacks. So by using siphoning attacks and becoming proficient in making sure that you use this ability as much as possible, you don't really need to worry about how high your Magicka recovery is, as siphoning attacks will do all the work for you. As you can see here, we've got quite low spell and physical resistances. This is because it doesn't really have to be that high. You've got so many healing per second on the Magicka Nightblade that you don't really have to worry too much about how much damage you've got incoming. I used 2 stat health and Magicka food, it's important to note, and also, although I have Werewolf here, I don't use it at all. It's simply there because you can have it sitting there without having any negative effects to your character. And as you can see, I use the Thief Mundus, and I strongly recommend you go with the Thief Mundus, as this will give you the highest damage output. Moving on to champion points. So for my champion points, I have them spread in quite a nice manner. I've done a lot of maths behind champion points. Basically there's little intervals where champion points become more effective depending on how much points you put in them. I can go into those in a future video, just let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to go into those in a bit more detail. As you can see here, I've got 100 Informatage. We're using a lot of poison damage as a Magicka Nightblade, and that is really important to have. If you don't have 100 Informatage yet, work towards getting it as soon as possible. This passive is just so important from the CP. As I said, just achieve it as soon as you can do. I have 10 in Staff Expert. As a Magicka Nightblade, you're doing a lot of weaving with the Destro Staff, so it's kind of important just to keep that fire damage up from the Destro Staff. I find it's really nice, given that your light attacks are often quite high on the DPS list at the end of most fights. As you can see here, I have quite a weird split in the Apprentice. I have a few in Spell Erosion, as I know that I'm going to be losing my Nirnhone's Torg Staff when I finally get the Maelstrom Destro. I'll still probably keep the Spell Erosion points where they are at the moment, as it's kind of a good threshold for doing a lot of damage. But at the moment I'm using the Nirnhone Staff with the Spell Erosion. I feel this is enough Spell Pen to do me plenty fine, and I'm doing decent damage on enemies. As you can see, I have a quite high Elfborn here, because at the moment I have such high crit, up to 68%, as you saw on the original character screen, that this 12.5% increased damage is just so worth it when you're stacking out high crit. And then not to forget that I have 10 points in Blessed. It's just a small amount, but that 5% bonus to the increased healing received just means that you don't have to worry about your health pool so much, and you can just keep doing as much damage and wailing on your enemies as much as possible. Going on to the green points now, I have 100 points in Arcanist. As I said already, the Magicka recovery isn't that high, but I generally just use Arcanist as a base principle on all my Magicka DPS classes. I'm considering moving the 100 points into the Magician, of which I only have 67 in, and reversing the points around therefore, so to have 100 in Magician and 67 into Arcanist, but I'm kind of happy with how the stats currently lie, so I don't think I'll be changing this anytime soon. Moving on to the red pool, I have 12 in quick recovery as I said before. Just that small extra amount of healing means you're not really worrying about your stats as much as possible. And that worry taken away from you allows you to focus more and more on the damage and the mechanics that are coming at you as opposed to the damage and mechanics you're currently taking. And that's an important difference in Maelstrom Arena. And this is the most interesting part of the red tree. And arguably the most interesting part of the CP distribution. I have 59 and 58 into Elemental Defender and Hardy, just a nice equal split, as the damage you receive in Maelstrom is often both of these damages. It's not really one or the other, it is slightly more magic damage in some rounds and slightly more frost and shock damage in other rounds. There isn't so much fire in the Maelstrom Arena, although there's quite a bit in some rounds. As you can see, I've got 26 into Light Armor Focus. Because I'm wearing 5 pieces of light, it's really nice just to give that little bit of physical resistance boost while I'm wearing the armor pieces. Without these I would be just a little bit more squishy, and often the damage you take most and is most harmful to your Maelstrom is often the physical damage, because it's the one you can protect yourself against the least. I have 12 into Thick Skinned, as there are some instances where you do take damage over time, such as the poison round if you accidentally get a mushroom on you, for example. And there's a few other small examples, but basically I have a small amount of reduction to damage over time effects, as I just feel it's necessary just to have that little cushion on the build. And that is all about it. So thank you very much for watching. That is the Magicka Nightblade guide for the Vet Maelstrom Arena. I wish you all the success in your own runs, and I'll see you in the next run.